Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to show you how to make a pumpkin on the Addi knitting machine. This is a really easy project and it comes out really cute. We're also going to create a leaf and a stem, also completely made on the knitting machine. The materials you're going to need are really simple. You just need a needle to take your stitches off the machine, and you're going to need polyfill or fiberfill, whatever brand you want, and a loom pick for the leaf. The color yarn I have is I have brown for the stem, green for the leaf, and I ran out of orange, so I'm going to make this pumpkin white. What's cute about this is you can do the pumpkin in whatever color that you want. Leave a fairly long tail in the center of the machine and then cast on with the color for your pumpkin. There is no waste yarn required for this project. Put the yarn in the yarn feeder, and now I'm going to do 62 rounds of this color. I've made my 62 rows, so I'm going to release this yarn and I'm going to create a pretty long tail. I'm going to cut the yarn and I'm going to go around once without feeding any yarn in to release the stitches. So now I have my yarn needle. I'm going to thread it, and now I'm just going to pick these stitches off the machine. Now you're going to have something that looks like this. I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to now make the leaf and the stem so that all the knitting is done at the same time. Now we're going to make the stem. I'm going to leave a fairly long tail in the center because I am going to need that to attach the tail. And I'm going to only cast on 4 stitches. I'm going to put this in the yarn guide, and I don't have a set number of stitches that I do for this. I just do panel knitting until it's long enough that I feel that I can fold it in half and create this loop. So I'm going to begin just doing this and I'm going to count as I go. I'm going to measure this myself. I'm just going to stretch it. That's how it would look when it comes off the machine. I'm going to fold it in half and I'm happy with that. So that was 20 rows. So now I'm going to release this from the machine. I'm going to cut a tail and I'm just going to go across these 4 stitches like that without feeding any yarn through. Thread this yarn tail and I'm just going to pick these 4 stitches off. Pull this through and you can just pull that tight and pull the tail of the other side as well. And give it a stretch. And that is your stem. Now I'm going to do the leaf. I'm going to again leave a kind of long tail so I can attach it later. And I'm going to cast on 6 stitches. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6. Just make sure everything's under the notches. And start this in the yarn feeder. And I'm going to do a couple of rows without any decreases. And again, because we're doing panel knitting, just know it is a little fiddly in the beginning, especially with such a small amount of yarn. So just make sure your ends are completely underneath those teeth. Now with our loom pick, I'm going to do a decrease on both ends. So I'm going to begin advancing this, and just as this stitch starts to rise, I'm going to take this stitch out, place it on top of the one next to it, push it down to the end. Now on the next side I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take this stitch, pull it off, and put it on the stitch right next to it. And then go to the end. Now I'm going to do another decrease. Take this stitch, place it on top of the one next to it, tighten everything up, put this back in the guide, go to the end, and then this is the last decrease. Place that on top of this stitch next to it, put this back in the guide, go to the end, and actually we're going to do one more to have a nice point. I'll take this one off, place it on top of the one next to it, And then we're just going to let this one stitch detach from the machine. Cut a tail. It's fairly long because I am going to sew this a little bit. I'm going to remove this one stitch, and I'm just going to pull that tail through the loop. And you have this nice triangular shape. Now we're going to turn this into a leaf. Thread your yarn needle, fold this in half, and I'm just going to do a very simple whip stitch across the edges here, because otherwise the leaf is going to be curly, which I don't want. I'm going to go along like this. And then we're just going to tie these two tails together to secure that. And there is the leaf. Now we're going to put everything together. So here is the main piece that I knitted. So I'm going to stretch this so that everything snaps into place. And this is a little similar to how you would make a beanie. On one end, I'm going to pull on this tail so that everything cinches up together. And then I'm going to grab this tail, thread it on my yarn needle, pull it through that big hole and all the way through the center, because I want that yarn tail sticking out from the middle. And it's okay if this is not perfectly tight yet. We're going to secure everything when we're done. Now I'm going to flip this to the center halfway, like this. The cinch stitches are at the halfway mark over here. And then we're just going to tighten that up. And now this tail, I'm going to pull this as well. It's like I made a little hat. Tighten these up more now. Make sure that this end touching the top here, and you have your two tails, so just pull it as tightly as you can. And now I'm going to tie these two tails together. These tails are really long. 1, 2. This is what you have. So we're going to lay this open like that, and we're going to now stuff it. So I have my filling right here, and I'm just going to begin stuffing don't want to overstuff it because I do like it when they are a little flat like this. I mean, if you want like a really big puffed up one, you could put more fiber fill. Now, using these long tails, I'm going to create the ridges of the pumpkin. So I have my yarn needle attached to one of them. I'm going to make 8 sections. So first I'm going to create a ridge that cuts the piece in half, the other half 2 and 2. I'm going to take this tail and I'm going to try to insert it along the seam of the stocking net stitch. And I'm going to go across the fiber fill here and find the side that corresponds across and go all the way over here. And once I get back to this point, I'm going to pull on that tail so that it cinches everything. I'm going to take this needle and I'm going to go through the bottom and up through the top. Now I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. I'm going to go across, and actually I'm going to go through the halfway point here. Pull it through. Then go across to the other side. Put the needle through the bottom, back through the center. So now I have 4 sections. One section here is bigger, so I'm going to just adjust these, slide it around a little to make it more even. And you can also redistribute the fiber fill in there. This is the time when you can make little modifications. And now I'm going to do a section of each section here. So I'm going to pull the yarn across this quadrant. Down the middle of that section, insert the needle through the center, pull it through, and then give it a pull. So that creates a ridge. Then I'm going to go to the section on the opposite side. And we can fix all of these little imperfections once we're done. Now I'm going to go to the next one. And then I'm going to go across the last section. Pull this one tight too. We can clean this up a bit and just kind of insert my fingers in where the fiber fill is, scooch it around. and it looks like that. I'm going to take the same yarn tail and I'm just going to begin pulling these sections together. So that pulled everything together, and now I'm going to just reinforce this by doing it one more time. Put your needle through the center, pull it out through the top, and now you can tie these two tails together. Now we're going to insert the leaf and the stem. I'm going to begin with the stem, and I'm going to put one tail of the stem on my yarn needle. I consider the top part of this pumpkin the part where I cinched everything together, and the bottom of the pumpkin is where I sewed everything. I'm going to just insert the needle through the top of this and out through the center, and that will pull the tail in, and then I'm going to do the same with the next tail. And I'm just going to insert it through the top and into the bottom. And that brings the stem into the center of the pumpkin. And I'm going to tie these two tails together. Insert it roughly where the tail was coming out from, and just out the side somewhere like that to get rid of your tails. And there is the stem inserted. Now we're going to do the leaf, and we're going to do it the same exact way. We're going to put the tail onto our yarn needle and put it on the side of the stem. Pull it through the bottom, that, and then the other tail. Try to have these coming out of the same stitch. You see how one tail is coming out here? Just make sure they're coming out of the same stitch so that when you tie the knot, it is not going to be visible. So now I'm just going to tie a couple of knots to secure that tail. And I'm going to get rid of these tails the same way I got rid of the other ones. And then lastly, I'm going to trim these tails because they're really long, and I'm going to get rid of these tails as well. And there you have it, completed. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I hope you make this project. If you do, please let me know. Bye-bye.